are joined by talking with Dr. Jesse Scaccia, Associate Professor of Media, Communication, and Journalism in the College of Arts and Humanities here at Fresno State. Jesse, thank you for taking the time to be with us today.
So happy to be with you all.
Great. So today we're going to be talking about your experiences in the Discovery program and the Equity-Minded Pedagogy program. So we'll start with Discovery. So why did you sign up for the Discovery program, and what was that experience like for you?
I signed up because of fear. I'm in a department with media in the name, and I've had a career in media, but I've been scared of it. I was born in 1979, and there were 4 channels, and the TV had 3 buttons. And I've done my best to keep up with technology, but I haven't. Because you need that time. It can be something that happens on the fly, that you adapt to new technology, but especially when it comes to work, and we're so overloaded as professors and academics. There are much harder jobs in the world, so I don't want to decontextualize it, but we've got a lot on our plates. So I knew I needed the dedicated time, the dedicated mentorship, and frankly, the dedicated handholding to help me feel confident enough to try new technologies and to gain some level of mastery over them, that I could bring them to the classroom.
And what made this this particular, because typically we'll send out emails for recruitment and things like that. Like, what made this particular moment the moment that you were like, you know what, it's time to confront that fear?
Well, this is my first time as a proper professor. I just got my PhD in August and started the job in August.
Okay.
So I'm trying to do right by these students, and I've known that that's somewhere I could grow and do better. So when I saw the email come through, and then I saw it also came with a stipend. And then I also understood that this was a chance for me to build a greater community for myself at Fresno State, and not just be siloed in my department, but to feel like I have these points of connection and relationships outside of my department. It just seemed like on all levels, just a really cool opportunity.
What did you find to implement? What's your class like today versus what it was like or would have been like had you not gone through it?
Yeah, well, it's definitely been successful, because I think the biggest thing that needed to happen was a change right here, and that change happened. I think that I can learn new technologies, and I think I can adapt them, from here to here. So that's the biggest thing, is I'm more empowered educator in this way. And it's been interesting. It's been a bit of a roller coaster in terms of adapting them, what I learned in the classroom, because I went in hard. Come spring semester, I went in hard, and particularly in one of my classes, they were always on the laptop. They were always doing something. They were building something. They were interacting with a website. It was much more e-centered. And then I realized I had to pull back from that. And because my teaching is very personal, and I realized my head was in the screen as their heads were in the screen, and we're missing a human element. So it was kind of cool that I really dove in and then reflected and then pulled back a little bit. And I'm still doing things I hadn't done before that are really good in the classroom. But particularly using Google Suite things. That's been a real revelation, of just using Google Slides as something that you can build sort of templates on, and then have the students take it to the next level with their own stuff. It looks great. It's well organized. It clicks with the students. We're looking at the same thing. So it's been it's a huge step up from write your plan on a piece of paper and hold it up and show it to each person. We really leveled up because of Discovery in that way.
But you got to find that balance between bringing those things in and not letting the technology get in the way, because like you're saying, that personal piece is part of the learning experience, and you don't want to lose that by bringing in too much technology, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I think keeping in mind what are our actual student learning outcomes we're going for here. And because I almost got in my head that the outcome I was going for was to use technology more. You know, and then I need to remind myself that student learning is the outcome I'm worried about, and then sort of realigned based on that value.
I think a lot of professors end up chasing that too, right? Like technology for technology's sake. They're just like, oh, a new program. I want my students to use it and learn it. And they forget, like, no, they need to learn the content first
Yeah.
and foremost. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So I started using the phrase meaningful technology integration, as opposed to just technology integration, just to make sure that first part is included in that conversation.
It's
So
productive, and you feel like you're really checking a box and you feel fancy, but
yeah.
I'm still a chalkboard teacher at the end of the day.
So let's go ahead and shift over to the equity-minded pedagogy part. So what made you sign up for that program, and then what was that experience like?
So I signed up for that. God, I'm trying to think of a more dynamic answer, but I signed up because I'm white. Like, it's really important for me. I'll just speak about me. It's important for me to be in spaces where I'm confronted with these conversations, and they just don't naturally happen all the time, right? And I'm not always in rooms where the leadership are people of color, and I knew I would be getting that here too, of hearing from voices in that power position, with me sort of as the student being facilitated. So I think just pushing myself to, because just we have to, as non-people of color, we've got to be pushing ourselves to understand the experiences of people of color, to the greatest depth that we can. I don't want to be one of those professors, people, or citizens that are just wearing the Black Lives button and acting like I solved it, right? Everything is more complicated, and the path from where we are to the world being better is always more complicated. So I thought being a part of the group was an opportunity to more meaningfully explore values that I know I have.
And kind of that concept of there's no finish line for this for like diversity, equity, and inclusion.
Yeah, and one of the huge eye-opening things of our conversations there, and really in both groups, was just all the different kinds of equity, all the different kinds of inclusion, right? Because there's so many different prisms through which to view those values and concepts, and both groups really pushed to look from all the different angles. But yeah, it's absolutely ongoing, absolutely always more we can be doing, to stay in the conversation.
And to that end, one of the things you shared in the discovery group was you talked about a UDL survey that you
Yeah.
implemented with your students. Can you tell us what that looked like and how that worked in your classes?
Yeah, and that was one that definitely was like, it felt like both courses informed doing that. But I put together a pre-course survey that I sent to all my students based on universal design learning, just to ask where they're coming from. I asked things like, how do you learn best? What has been triggering for you that a professor has done or said in the past? What helps create a safe environment for you in the classroom? So, their answers, I could tell that it mattered to them, even that I asked, right? It just opened the conversation from day one of, you're not just a student to me. I get that you're a human being with a whole lifetime of lived experiences that you're bringing to this room, and I'd like to understand those better right away. So I think it really cut to the chase of, we broke down that professor-student relationship in the good way to people dynamic as well by doing that. So that was a big win, and something I definitely plan on keeping on doing as throughout my career, because you can't know, and I think one thing that the course really drove home is, we can't assume that we know. I can't assume I know what anyone else thinks, no less someone who's like me, right? No less someone who's very different than me. So it really pushed me to assume that I have assumptions and ask more questions.
And I think what I remember fondly about your cohort with equity minded pedagogy was the conversations around like not because there's that kind of like professionalism concept of, oh, check emotions at the door. And what we talked about a lot was like, no, lean into emotions, explore emotions. That way you kind of get to the root of what's going on for people in their learning.
Yeah. There was definitely a energy in the room. You know, it felt alive and it felt real. And that's a testament to you all as facilitators to create that space where we could feel things, you know, and be empowered to feel things in the classroom too.
And as we're talking, I feel like there's probably almost an intersection between the technology and the understanding people's lives better that probably comes together in your students doing journalism and media, right? Like that's a big part of the stories you choose to tell and the technology you use to tell those stories. So it seems like there's almost an intersection that happens that seems like it was a good fit for these two programs for you in terms of working with students in that discipline.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And doing the two courses at the same time, it was like having headphones on and like, you know, one side had the rhythm going and the other had, you know, the beat or what have you. It definitely was really cool the way that they both informed my journalism classes. Absolutely.
So what's next for you? You know, you've been through these two programs, you've been through this first year teaching here at Fresno State. Where do you go from here?
Can you narrow that down a little bit?
You know, so what does next year look like for you in terms of teaching with technology or the integrating or being aware and conscious of your students and their various identities and how you can be how knowing that and being aware of that can help you be a better instructor for them.
Yeah, for sure. Well, let me give just one example. I led our department in putting together a grant for a solutions journalism grant, where the students are going to report on student mental health issues next year. So it's a $10,000 grant and we won it, and most of that money is going to go to the students actually reporting. And two of their main focuses are going to be on the specific barriers to mental health care for the Latinx and Asian communities here on campus. So kind of really hitting the equity idea right on the head, and then using the technology of Fresno State Focus and the Collegian to get it out there and to make sure we reach people where they are. So, you know, I'm in media and I've been in social justice a long time. So I feel like I live these values inside and outside of the classroom. And as much as any one lesson of using Google Slides or doing the UDL survey or something like that, I just feel empowered right now. You know, and I feel empowered in technology, and I feel empowered as, you know, a leader in our university community to notice these things, to notice when we can be more equitable, when we can be more fair, and when we can create a more welcoming environment for all students. So that's where am I going from here? I think I know that I'm a part of a community that cares, that is pushing for these values that are really important to me. And I feel like people have my back, you know, whether it be trying technology or pushing ideas of justice and equity in the classroom. I know that, you know, just looking at you two, that there are people that are supporting those things, and that just feels good. You know, I think it's really easy to feel alone in your job, in any job, and feel like, God, am I doing the right thing? Does anyone care? Am I on my own here? But I think these courses really enforce that idea of supportive community.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, Jesse, thank you so much for taking time to talk to me and William today.
My pleasure.
Good summer.
Good to see y'all.
To learn more, visit our website, academics.fresnostate.edu/ideas, or contact us to share your story. Ideas@mail.fresnostate.edu.